it's going to end up being about 40 closings, did you say? Is that right?
Yeah, somewhere between 40 and 50. Yeah, he told me to shut the blank up and until I did something about it. Don't talk to him about it anymore. Is actually what he said. Everybody's a prospect, and it's so hard to have genuine relationships when you have to feel like everybody's a prospect. Surrounding myself with people who are a whole lot smarter than me, and it's really been a blessing.
There are over 1.5 million real estate agents in the U.S. 87% of agents fail within the first 5 years. I sit down with the top percentile of agents that are killing it in this market right now. We're here to showcase, explain, and most importantly, decode the secrets that have propelled them to the top. What fuels their success? How are they turning their dreams into reality? Get ready, buckle up. This is the Agents with Grit podcast.
Okay, welcome to the show. We got Jordan Painter here, who is out of Grand Rapids and is an absolute beast in the community. I know he seems like a very humble guy just from the conversations that I've started to have with you, Jordan. But you've obviously been very busy this year, and you've done it's going to end up being about 40 closings. Did you say? Is that right?
Yeah, somewhere between 40 and 50. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. And you have a pretty big squad. You have a brokerage of about, is it 15 people?
Yeah, we have 15 agents, I believe, now. I've had a lot of new agents coming on, so getting them trained up and coaching them in the business.
So you've been in the business for how long now?
I entered in 2010. So my first year pretty much selling foreclosures with a HUD listing broker. So started at the bottom.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So before we kind of dive in, I know this podcast, the title is Agents with Grit. So I really like to get to know the person, and I know we'll talk about your first steps in the real estate world. But where would you say your drive for success ultimately comes from?
Yeah, so I would say originally when I got started, I was young with a young family, and it was just sheer dumb desperation trying to pay bills, right? And so started off that way, and really it's become a very fulfilling career for me. So I love to see people win. So my heart is just for people, and it's just awesome to be able to be a part of that and help people win. So my drive now is really just investing in relationships and making sure that the people that we have opportunity to impact have a positive experience with us. So 2010
is when you said, and you said out of desperation. So can you kind of talk to me about like where you were at that point? What was going on in your daily life?
Yeah, so my wife and I got married and had kids real young. And so before getting into real estate, I was a barber. So I was cutting hair, and it was a decent career, but we were still kind of hand to mouth with income and money, and not taking vacations, and quite a few years of that before I got into real estate. So it really was just trying to figure out a path to, to create income and freedom. So.
Okay. So you were a barber, and what brought you into real estate? Like, did you hear about it from talking to a customer? Like, take me back. What led you down that road?
Yeah, ironically, it was a client at the barbershop that I worked at, and he did property management and flips and construction at the time, and he did really well. He was very successful, and so when I got started, it was kind of emulating to a certain extent what he did. So I started out with a business partner doing light construction remodels, and I got my real estate license so we could do property management, and we sucked at it, and that business never went anywhere. So we spent probably 18 months to 24 months beating our head against the wall in 2008 to 2010 when the economy was terrible, and so that was kind of how I got into it originally, and then transitioned in 2010 just to selling.
So you had, because I know you have, I think I saw in your biography 2 kids, right?
I have 3 kids. Yeah, we have a 18-year-old that graduated last year, and I have a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Okay, got it. So at that time, did you just had one?
I got my son was born in 2010, and so we had 1.5 when I got into real estate. Matter of fact, I remember holding him studying for the real estate exam.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay. So that transition of just 12 to 14 months that you're saying you were doing property management and construction, like what were you doing for money? Like did you have anything else that was supporting your family at that time?
Yeah, I was still working at the barbershop at the time, and my business partners they were subcontracting for another framing company, so we both had other jobs. So it was all evenings and weekends, and we were working all the time to get jobs and get them done. So it was a lot of just long hours.
Okay. And that client that you had, you know, is that somebody that you really saw like, hey, this is my kind of role model where I want to become what he is, or like what kept you guys going to see it through?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it was cool to see somebody be successful, and it's an exciting industry. Obviously, just being able to have the flexibility and the freedom and the theoretical unlimited income. So that was certainly appealing. And matter of fact, he kind of gave me a push. I talked for years about all the stuff I was going to do and all the plans that I had. And one day he called me out for talking too much and not taking action. So that's something I still remember today is just take action. You got something you want to do, get after it.
So accountability, he was there to hold you accountable, light a fire under you.
Yeah, he told me to shut the blank up and until I did something about it. Don't talk to him about it anymore. Is actually what he said.
And how far into this was this? Was this when you were the property manager in construction?
No, this was 2008 before I started doing that. This was between 2007, 8 probably somewhere in there.
So it took you some time to even make the leap and transition from being a barber to dipping your toes in the real estate world.
Yeah, so we did the property management construction business for probably a year and a half, and then I continued at the barbershop until sometime in 2011. I can't even remember, but it was probably a year and a half of doing both jobs before I really felt comfortable enough to support my family in the real estate industry full time.
Okay. And how did it turn out your first, let's say, 12 months of being, I know you had obviously the side gigs, and you wanted to transition full time as like a real estate agent, but what was that first 12 months like for you? Which I know you mentioned HUD Homes. Is that your first deal that happened?
Yeah, so I mean, at the time, again, I was young and hungry and really excited to have the opportunity. So my broker, there was only 5 agents, and we all got to take turns. So there's a number that was on all the HUD signs. So when FHA loans goes into foreclosure, the Department of HUD takes it over, and they would hire brokers to sell it. And so they had a minimum commission of $1,250. And for me at the time, I'm like, that's balling. I can sell a house and make $1,200. That is amazing.
Right.
Give me all those leads. And so we'd be taking these calls. So it was a lot of just learning. HUD deals are very difficult at the time. It was probably one of the most difficult organizations to work for. There's just a ton of details, and the contracts have to be just right. It was very high bar of what you need to learn and know. So the first year was just figuring out how to do HUD deals. At the time, agents, the seasoned agents didn't want to have anything to do with it. They didn't want to do HUD deals. They didn't want to do foreclosure, short sales. And so for me, it was just like, hey, I'll take the clients nobody else wants. I'll take these low price point people. And so I really cut my teeth on really the worst part of the industry, as far as not necessarily the people, but just crappy old houses that need a ton of work. So I really learned a lot about how to analyze a property and find issues, and sat through dozens and dozens of home inspections to really learn inside and out kind of the home structure piece of it. And then just the background I had as a barber, I was used to talking to people. That's what I did, for years before. So the relational approach for me was just kind of natural. Very little change from what I was doing before.
And did you have a mentor there or a team that you worked for? Were you with an agency or?
Yeah, I was with Mike Childress. He's still a really good friend of mine. So he's still a broker here in West Michigan. So he taught me the ropes of that part of the business, and really was a great influence on just learning how to answer questions and knowledge in the industry and all those things that you learn as a new agent coming into the market. So he was great. So
Okay. And where did you go from there? I mean, obviously you're focusing on these HUD homes. Did it just kind of organically transition to, hey, a barber client reached out, or what? Kind of talk to me about how you grew your business and stayed consistent.
Yep. So I was with Mike for about 3 years, mostly selling foreclosures. Yeah, I was, late 20s, whatever it was at the time. And, I think getting into this industry, you kind of have to reframe how people think of you. So everybody that knew me as a barber, right? So not many people want to buy a house from their barber. So I didn't really sell houses to many people that I knew. Not just a barber, but a young barber relatively. And so not too many people that I knew wanted to work with me because they knew I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And they were right. So over that 3 years, I really grew my business and people started to take me seriously, especially when I transitioned out of cutting hair. But I'm a dumb barber with a high school education that barely graduated. I was not a great student and made some questionable choices when I was younger. So I didn't really have business training or acumen at the time. So the broker I was with, he was a great friend and taught me a lot. But he was similar to me. We had a lot of similar weaknesses, and so we didn't have a checklist. I mean, at the time I was probably doing 30 plus deals a year. And we didn't have a checklist. We didn't have a system. I'm waking up in the middle of the night like, oh crap, I forgot to order the appraisal or pull title or whatever it was. And so at that time, I kind of realized I needed more coaching and more help. And so I went to a larger national franchise at that time. I had a friend there that had pretty good experience. So I went to a national franchise and got into actually Buffini and Company. It's a training system for real estate agents. That I still utilize that system today. So 2013, I transitioned to the larger brokerage and really was able to get some mentorship in how to run a business and getting access to the systems and the organization and all those things that people think realtors just open doors and do social media posts. You're an accountant, you're marketer, you're an advisor. There's all these different things that you need to know how to do, transaction coordinator, all those things that you learn to do. So you're really running a business along with selling houses and doing all those different things. So
yeah, so you said 20 homes, 20, 30 homes, you said, at least.
Yeah, I think it was about 30
individually.
third into the fourth year with zero systems. So it was a nightmare.
And how soon did it you obviously went to the bigger organization. When did it transition to like, hey, I need a team? You got 15 people under you, kind of. How did that end up happening?
Yeah. So, I hired my first admin. That was the best thing I ever did. I think that was probably 2014 ish. And it's always scary to have the responsibility to pay someone, and obviously all those things that come along with making sure that you have enough money to do that. And I had some good mentorship at the time, and somebody asked me the question. I was like, what am I going to have this person do for me? What if I can't keep them busy? Somebody asked me the question, what are you doing that doesn't make money? And I'm like, a lot of stuff. And they said, stop doing all of that. And I'm like, there's actually a lot of stuff I can have this person do for me, when you think about it that way. So between hiring an admin and then having a system, I mean, again, I didn't have a checklist. I didn't have a database. I didn't have any way to stay in contact with my past clients. So Buffini really helped me to organize my database and understand how to communicate with people and get back in touch and really foster those relationships so that I would get referrals. And so at the time also, I was doing a lot of Realtor.com. I spent a lot of money on Realtor.com leads. And back then, you could triple or quadruple your investment easily. They were cheap. You could buy these zip codes now. I used to pay between $100 and $200 a month per zip code. Those are thousands a month now. So I was really fortunate getting into it. I remember another broker friend of mine, when I was talking about buying them, he's like, oh, that's stupid. If it was that easy to get clients, everybody would do it. And I'm like, well, I'm stupid. I'm going to try it. And it was amazing for a long time. And so a lot of my business it was really a few main areas. So you got your sphere of influence, you got your marketing that you're doing, and then most of my marketing at the time was just internet leads. So Realtor.com and Zillow really helped me build the base of my business.
Wow. Okay.
So then I never was I never really looked at it from an ego perspective. Some people want to have a team and they want to have all these people under them and all those types of things so they look like they're super successful. I really got to the point where I was working all the time. I was showing houses 5-6 days a week, evenings, weekends. And I really got to the point where it's like I've gotta find somebody to help me so that I can be home more. And so
Yeah.
when I brought on my first buyer's agent, it really was more of a function of like I just have to be home. And so I started growing that team and kind of went from there.
And what year was this when you brought on your first buyer's agent?
Yeah, that was probably 2015. I brought on a buyer's agent, and again, I had never managed anybody. I'd never trained anybody. Kind of learning from scratch. Needless to say, it didn't work out super well, and so it really took me a long time to learn. I still struggle with that. Quite frankly, I never really could figure out how to make a team profitable, mostly because my business was coming from referrals and internet leads. And internet leads, when you're paying, the prices kept going up over the years. And when you're paying all that money for internet leads and then you're passing it on and only getting 50% or whatever the percentage you're charging your buyer's agents, it just was really hard to financially make money on that. And I know some agents do it really well. It just was not something that I really ever cracked the nut on. So.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you're buying leads, you're getting internet referral, or you're getting referrals coming in. When did it get to the point where, like, did you have too many referrals where you just had to keep adding more and more agents on, or like what led you to? Because now you got 15 people under you. So how are they feeding themselves? Like what's it look like today?
Yeah, so I got to a certain point. I was at a national franchise. The culture wasn't a great fit in the particular office I was in, and every time you add a new agent, you add all those fees on. And so I had grown. I had four agents working for me at the time, or working with me at the time, and I actually had another one. One of them, we decided we needed to create our own culture, and we needed to control our overhead. And so we actually partnered when I started Keystone Home Group Realty in 2018. We branched out and we kind of took our team with us. And there was 4 or 5 of us at the time. And over the next couple of years, we had added and subtracted some agents. And I ended up buying him out. He's another local broker here. He's got his own thing going. And so kind of took over from there. And after a couple of years of really trying to run a team myself, I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't getting a ton of value out of it. I feel like I wasn't doing a good job providing value for the agents. So we changed our model at that point from a team model to just a traditional brokerage model. So all the agents in my office are independent agents. So I don't have anyone on my team per se at this point. I have a full-time admin that's amazing. She's been with me 7 years now. She really runs a large portion of the business, the back end side. And then the agents are all independent, and they will, from time to time, I'll have them help show houses for me and those types of things. But they all operate independently now.
Got it. Okay. And are you still doing lead buys today? I know you got a following on, you're on Zillow, you got realtor.com. Does it look like lead buy wise?
Yep. I stopped buying leads a few years ago. They just got way too expensive, and I kept, I should have dumped them years before, but I just had in my back of my head how well it had done historically. And I also just got sick of being, those internet leads, you have to be on all the time. You got to be calling right away. You don't have a relationship. You got to talk people into working with you. I just got burned out on it. And so I stopped doing internet leads. I just tried a new one, actually, ironically, and I wasted a few $1,000s. I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm done. So my business now is virtually all referrals. I will get some leads for, we have a podcast and we do some social media stuff. So I'll get some cold leads from some of those things once in a while, but I really don't do a ton of marketing other than to my database. So the business plan that we've developed is just taking care of people, staying in contact. We throw a few different 2 or 3 client events over the year every year to continue to stay in touch with people, stay in front of them, birthday cards and holiday cards, and we do this next week is Thanksgiving. We're going to have a bunch of clients come and pick up pies, so they get to pick what pie they want. They come and see us. So we've worked really hard to just maintain those relationships, lots of coffee and lunch meetings and those types of things. So I'm at a point in my business, I don't really need to spend a ton of money marketing, and I don't really want to be busier. I have a couple of other businesses that I'm involved with as well. So I feel like I've got a pretty decent balance overall with where I'm at. So I'm not really doing a ton outside of the basics.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, these happy birthdays, there's all sorts of touch points, right? Where you're top of mind to these people where, hey, they think of Keystone, they think of Jordan Painter, like this is the guy I'm referring my friends, family. Is that who's coming back to you? Where 10 plus years, I'm sure you've had a family that's referred their brother or sister or even maybe kids, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's mostly repeat referral. I've had several clients referring their kids and parents and grandparents. I've got the showing this afternoon with one of my clients' parents that's relocating from the southern side of the country, and so it's mostly repeat and referral is what I get, and I'll do some open houses, and you'll get sign calls and those types of things once in a while. But I've got a great networking group that I started a couple years ago that we generate leads for each other, and that's been very, very impactful as well. So
yeah, what I love, the pretty big common thread of just talking with prior, very successful agents is their community. Like they're very involved. And I know you have 3 kids. I'm sure you're probably pretty active in that community as well, right? Being part of their school activities, or, is that also a networking opportunity where it's maybe led to some business as well?
it definitely has. So I've coached all my kids in different sports over the years. We're active in our church community, and so that turns into leads. But I've really had to separate. One of the worst things about being a real estate agent is like everybody's a prospect, and it's so hard to have genuine relationships when you have to feel like everybody's a prospect. So I don't sell hard. I do get some business out of it. But I'm not out handing out business cards and trying to get people to buy and sell with me. They know what I do. If they want to work with me, fantastic. If they don't, I'm not going to be weird about it and make people run for the hills when they see me coming. So I do get some business out of it. Probably the most awkward one is I sold a house to a client this last year. I picked him up in the sauna at the gym.
Oh, so that's great.
You never know. And I wasn't even selling. We were just talking about what we do, and I'm in real estate. He's getting ready to buy a house. Perfect. Let's do it.
Right.
So do get some of that just from being out and around. But,
yeah. No, I think like you're not out in front of church handing out cards as everybody walks in, right? You're not that guy.
I'm not, and I've seen people not exactly like that, but I've seen people do similar stuff that's just pretty gross, turn off, right? In my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of that pushy car salesman is the vibe that I typically get with that, right? But yep. you've built relationships. I mean, you said CrossFit as well, and you also do jujitsu.
Mm-hmm. Yep, CrossFit, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Those are my 2 kind of hobbies that keep me sane. Yep.
Yeah. And then I want to talk more about the podcast because, when did you and it was Tony Stancato is his name, correct? Mm-hmm. Is your partner?
Yep. Yeah. So Tony and I, we actually are friends from church from way back. And he's kind of like me. We're both visionaries. We're always starting new stuff. So we started a few years ago, we were flipping websites. And so when I say we, it's mostly he. He's a wizard at SEO and different things. So we buy podcasts, we'd fix them up, monetize them, and then resell them for a multiple of the kind of the monthly revenue. And so we were doing that, and he was working a real job at the time. He was working at Stryker, and he hated it and wanted to kind of work for himself. So we like traveling a lot. Our families travel a lot, and so we were trying to figure out what kind of life hack business can we have. We had actually a website business that had some travel aspects to it. So we're trying to figure out how can we have a business that supports our lifestyle and provides some potential write-offs and those types of things. So we bought a short-term rental, our first one in 2021. And then we realized how stupid we were for trying to manage a property way away from, well, I shouldn't say stupid, but it's a lot of work to manage short-term rental. And we're like, well, we can't be the only idiots that thought they were going to do this. Why don't we offer our services now that we've built these systems to other people? And so we started a property management company, Book and Gather, and then we brought in a business partner, and we've been buying and selling and developing short-term rentals since then. So we have Michigan Short-Term Rentals is our podcast. And then we have a Facebook group, Michigan Vacation Rentals, that's, I think it's eight or 9,000 people it's up to now. So, which we actually bought that. We bought that when there was, I think, 5,000. We reached out to the people running it and bought that from them. So the podcast we've been doing for a couple years, and it's really just, how can we provide as much value as we can? We're not selling anything. We're really careful to just make sure we're providing value, and we've interviewed some amazing people. And then last year was our first one, but we're bringing it back again. So we're doing the Michigan short-term rental conference, and we're bringing in some big names from around the country. Last year we had Bill Faith come, and this year we've got some other pretty big names that are going to be speaking for us here in Grand Rapids. That's in May. So,
wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, right when you search Michigan short-term rental, you guys pop right up. The website's there. You know, I love the website too. I mean, you have all sorts of education that's on there. You know, you link to the podcast, which is great. And then you also have the opportunity where the clients can go through and work with the management company, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we do promote that on there. So
amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned, have you gotten some business from that where you've represented throughout the whole transaction where, hey, I want to buy a short-term rental. Can you help me with everything?
Yeah. So we've done several of those. I think it's like any business, you kind of learn. So our first few clients were actually all my real estate clients. We got one of our first properties was a property on Lake Michigan that clients of mine bought several years ago. And then I had another client that was looking to invest. And so, he bought 2 houses with us. And so we would help furnish, and we would manage the rehab and all that kind of stuff. We don't do that anymore. We farm all that stuff out. It's a lot of work to do all that, and it's hard to charge enough for us. So we do have some furnishing and staging partners that we use for doing those types of things, and then we'll give our clients recommendations on contractors and those types of things. So we do help people full service. Some of our clients, I just had lunch with one yesterday. Actually, he bought a lake house in Southwest Michigan. They're self-managing, which is great. We help them locate it, analyze it, and purchase it. Tony is more active. He really runs that business, and we have a full-time operator also that really does the day-to-day stuff there. But we do help on the real estate side. Most of our business has been in Southwest Michigan, but we really will manage anywhere in Michigan.
That's awesome. Good. So you got a lot. You're a man of many hats, right? You got a ton of stuff going on, which is great. You've built a very successful business on the real estate end, and you know it's been awesome kind of getting to know you, Jordan, and walking through everything. And you know, I know our listeners, they want to ultimately be successful like you in this game, and you obviously embody grit from just your days as a barber to now where you are today, where you're self-made, right? You have obviously a great family. You've supported them. You're very active in your community, and you're somebody that definitely embodies an agent with grit, you know, with what our theme is here with the podcast. Where is a good spot to reach out to you and find you if aspiring agents have, you know, questions, or even if there's people looking to buy a house in Grand Rapids? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Jordan Painter, Instagram, JPP the broker, and then Facebook. I'm on the Facebook platform as well. So those would be the easiest ways to get connected. And you know, I'm an open book. And you say self-made, but in my opinion, you know, I've been very, very fortunate and very blessed, and I've had a ton of people around me. I wouldn't be where I'm at without the people around me. So. What's the saying? I think you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And in most of the rooms that I go in, I'm probably like below average. Surrounded myself with people who are a whole lot smarter than me. And, you know, it's really been a blessing. So.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I thank you, man. I really, it's a great conversation talking to you. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has been another episode of Agents with Grit podcast. You can find us on social media. We're on all sort of podcast platforms as well, Spotify, Apple Podcast. But we're at Agents with Grit. I want to thank you again, Jordan. I appreciate you for your time, and we'll be in touch.